Chapter 14. Meeting Lynn. I began to return to the readings each week. Dusty's presence, steady and maternal, gave me courage. I started building friendships. Jean Jones, who offered honest feedback that made me want to grow as a writer. Thomas Childs, who became a confidant. Sharing the swing with Jean was humbling, but his encouragement told me I wasn't alone in this journey. I also carried a growing awareness that I wanted more than poetry. I wanted a life where I could help others. My volunteering at Georgia Regional Hospital had already shown me the path. In Wilmington, away from the silencing of my parents' home, that path began to feel real. At first, I noticed people in passing, faces that would later mean the world to me, though I didn't know it yet. Lynn was one of them. At the time, my heart was still processing the loss of Kelta. Love seemed impossible. Yet even in those early weeks, the warmth of Wilmington, the welcome of Dusty, and the applause of strangers had begun to prepare me for something I didn't yet believe could happen again. I hadn't noticed Lynn much that first Sunday. My mind was still heavy with grief, and I wasn't scanning the room for possibilities. But over the next couple of weeks, she began to register in my awareness, a presence I found myself drawn to without fully realizing it at first. She came every week, sitting quietly, sometimes alone, sometimes in light conversation with others. She was fair-skinned, surprisingly so for someone living across the street from the beach, and carried herself with a calm composure. I caught myself noticing her figure in quick, respectful glances, the easy shape of her legs beneath shorts, the gentle curve of her hips, the natural line of her shoulders. She didn't dress to catch attention. No makeup, no artifice, yet my attention settled on her all the same. I began to wonder, without even meaning to, whether she was seeing anyone. In my past, I might have let that uncertainty keep me at a distance, but week after week she came, and I saw no signs of a partner. That absence felt remarkable. Here was someone I found deeply attractive. I was in awe of this reality, that someone so beautiful was not in a relationship, had not been found by someone else already. By the time the June 28th reading arrived, I'd made up my mind to find a way to speak with her beyond the polite nods we had exchanged. I angled myself to sit near her table by the window. Outside, the late afternoon sun touched the Cape Fear River, scattering flecks of gold across the surface. Inside, I felt my pulse quicken, not from nerves in the old crippling way, but from a sense that the moment had arrived. I asked, "Do you want to go to the poetry reading next Sunday with me? It's down at Carolina Beach." "Sure," she said, her voice soft and warm. Encouraged, I added, "Can I call you?" She gave me her phone number. The room dissolved into background blur. There was only her, the slip of paper in my hand, the knowledge that I would see her again. "We could go down to Carolina Beach on Saturday, too," I suggested. "Maybe walk out to the jetty or see the aquarium." "Okay," she said with a small, agreeable smile. The following Saturday, the air was bright and warm as we drove from her place on Wrightsville Beach toward Carolina Beach. I had taken a moment to ensure Lynn was happy with this plan. Then we came to the jetty I had discovered on my own travels. We parked the car and walked toward it, stepping carefully across the rocks. I was nervous. It was slippery. I couldn't let Lynn fall. I found her instantly precious and beautiful. I couldn't allow that skin to be scratched or to see her stumble. "Take my hand," I said with an urgency that surprised me. I offered my hand, and my fingers wrapped down over her upturned palm. At our touch, my entire body felt something light and pleasant, electric. This wasn't expected. We paused for a moment, looking out toward the water. Her hair swayed in the light wind. I was captivated by this moment of gazing at Lynn while she looked to the left, just slightly ahead of me. I didn't have words for mindfulness then, but only in looking back do I realize I wasn't dwelling on the loss of Kelta or the hollow places I had carried here. I was simply present. I didn't want the day to end. So, as she turned back to me, I said, "We can go to the Fort Fisher Historical Museum where Jean works." We would discover that we were both pacifists, and yet this Civil War museum, the last stand of the Confederacy, Froissy, was a place we could enjoy together without celebrating war. The day flowed smoothly, and before long we found our way to the fireworks show over the Cape Fear River. I remember walking away and passing near where she worked. Someone from her job noticed us together and asked if I was her boyfriend. Lynn said, "No, we are just friends." For some reason, this common-sense response should have assured me that we were already friends in Lynn's eyes after just a day together. Yet I was left wondering, was this a sign that I had asked her out on a date? Why was I confused and disappointed? Our relationship would grow romantically and in unmistakable ways without naming it anything. We were two creative types allowing things to happen. The next day, we met at the poetry reading in Carolina Beach. Lynn read a few of her own poems, and as she often did, recited the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock with a voice that drew you in, not for performance's sake, but with a sincerity that made each line feel personal. It was early yet, but something had shifted. A door had opened, quietly, without ceremony. I didn't know where it would lead, only that I wanted to step through.